Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is Paige from Turn the Page Books. I have a hefty list of books for you today. It's about fantasy books. When I started my reading journey, I was really into thrillers. That was my go-to genre, and I still tend to gear towards more thriller and horror novels. Ever since I started my book accounts, I've been reading a variety of genres and just trying out different things. Fantasy is one of the genres that I've been introduced to. These are some fantasy books that kind of got me into the genre and is having me pick up more fantasy reads. The books that I have on this list are pretty obvious. I won't go into too much detail about them, but I also have some hidden gems on here that I think are really good and that more people should know about. But first, just to get the really popular ones out of the way, let's go through those. We are starting with Fourth Wing. I feel like everyone and their mother and their grandma has read this series. I do admit it is a good one. I was really hesitant to read Fourth Wing because the idea of dragons just really did not intrigue me. I was least looking forward to the dragon part, which then actually happened to be my favorite part of the whole series. I did the audio for all of them because they're so long. I think even the audio was like 20 hours long. I finished this book in like 2 days. I was just cleaning my house and I couldn't stop listening to it. I even cried at some parts. The second one is Iron Flame. I actually only have the Spanish edition for it. I won it from a giveaway on TikTok. Here's what it looks like. This one was also good. It's a little bit heavier on the action side and less romance. And then the last one is Onyx Storm, and this one came out in January, and I read this one fairly quickly as well. Maybe it took me a week, so not as quick as Fourth Wing. And I liked this one too. It was a little bit more confusing for me and a little bit more fantasy heavy. So I kind of prefer character building. It was also good, but it wasn't my favorite. I do recommend the series if you're getting into fantasy and need something to kind of spark that interest. Now, I can't talk about fantasy without talking about ACOTAR. ACOTAR stands for A Court of Thorns and Roses. It is so funny because this book has blown up. This whole series has become a huge thing. There is a huge internet presence with ACOTAR. But I actually heard about ACOTAR many years ago from a YouTuber, and she was talking about spicy books that she recommends. And this was one of them. I didn't pick it up at the time because the reviews are kind of mixed. There weren't as many good reviews as there are now. And there were a lot of people saying, oh, well, this is just a remake of The Beauty and the Beast, but with Faye. And then randomly decided to read it one day, a couple years later, because it started blowing up on TikTok. I had a really hard time getting through the first part of it. The last 30% I really enjoyed, and I kept thinking about it, but I did take a huge break in between reading A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury. I have the whole series. This is not the right order, I don't think, but oh, actually maybe it is. I don't know when this one goes. I have never read A Court of Frost and Starlight. I haven't read it. And it's a holiday read that's supposed to be kind of in between. It's a holiday novella. I might read it this winter. I didn't get a chance to read it this time around, but I plan to read it eventually. Once I started the second book, I finished that fairly quick. Then I did the last couple books back to back. I do think that it's a really good beginning point for fantasy readers because it's not super epic fantasy. There's some world building, but there's also romance. There's spice, there's just a little bit of other things added into it that helps it not be so heavy. Next one I'm gonna talk about is One Dark Window because I have seen this all over TikTok and Bookstagram as well. More of a darker gothic fantasy, which I really enjoyed. Trials in it, which is really cool to me. There's a few other books that I like that are on this list that also have trials included in their story. This is a duology and I need to read the second one because I did enjoy the first one. The next book that I have is also about trials, and it's The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This one is vampires. There's many books in this series and I haven't read the other ones yet. I plan to eventually. I just like to take breaks in between reading books in a series usually. The next one I'm going to talk about is also a little bit popular, but not everybody has read it, I think. It is called The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This one is more of a magical realism fantasy, not an epic fantasy, and it's not very world building or anything like that. It's focused more on the main character and her story. A young French woman from the 1700s gets stuck with a curse that everyone she meets forgets who she is, and she is cursed to live forever. This book is a really interesting concept, and I really appreciated the storytelling throughout the whole novel. It's just a beautiful story overall, very atmospheric, and it has a little bit of a darker side as well. If you liked The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I definitely recommend The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown. The main character finds a book, and when she opens it up, she realizes she can travel to different places. She can also travel to different time periods as well, so it makes for a really interesting story. It's a little bit more magical, so there's some magical elements. It's a book about books, so if you are a bookish person, I think that you will enjoy this because there's a lot of bookstores and libraries and secret books. Another magical realism style book called The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O. I read this on my Kindle. I borrowed it from the library and it is so good. I haven't seen a ton of people talk about it. It is based off of Korean folklore about a girl named Mina who sacrifices herself to the sea in place of her brother's girlfriend. She does this to stop deadly storms that are plaguing their land. But instead of dying, she finds herself in a magical spirit realm where she meets other characters who help her on a journey. I highly recommend that one if you are not super into fantasy. It was just fantastic, and it reminded me a lot of Spirited Away. And I have two other books that are kind of similar vibes. Water Moon, and the other one is The Rainfall Market. So I have both of these books that I think are going to give similar vibes to The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. Those are the books that I have for you today. I hope you check them out. If any seem really interesting to you, let me know in the comments what you think. Do you like fantasy books? What is your favorite genre to read? And I can't wait to discuss more books in the next one. I really appreciate you being here and supporting me. I make new videos every Thursday. Happy reading and have a wonderful week.